The ideas that gave birth to our nation are the ideas that our nation is resistant to right now, and we should talk about that all the time.
In a world where narratives are shaped by corporations and gatekeepers, independent voices matter more than ever. Badlands Media brings together citizen journalists, researchers, and independent thinkers.
The truth is triggering.
Question the narrative. Explore the facts.
Its authenticity, courage, resilience.
Search for the truth others won't.
It's not about being first or being right.
The information war is changing.
It's about being authentic.
Embrace the friction.
Embrace the friction.
Shut the f*** up.
Authentically antagonizing. Join the movement.
I'm going to say how I feel.
Follow Badlands Media.
This is about the future.
The Badlands. What are the Badlands? Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening to all you Spellbreakers out there. We are rocking and rolling on our road trip to outer space and beyond today. Don't know what to say beyond that for the moment. Was it a day or what? Was it a day? We're all here. The world's still together, and we're all together here. On the air. We're going to do a show tonight, as we do every Friday evening here on Badlands Media, here every 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time. I'm your host, Matthew Trump, and taking over the reigns here of Badlands for the next hour and a half. And then we're going to have Only Lands after that. Hope you stick around for that. I'm sure we'll be talking about some of the same things we're going to be talking about on the air tonight. So, well, I'm so glad there's a lot of people here because I need people in the chat tonight to we need this needs to be a communal show tonight. I think I'm gonna look at your comments, and man, I could easily spend the whole show just reading your comments and getting your reactions to what has to be considered one of the most extraordinary days of my lifetime, I think. Or not. Maybe it's just an ordinary day. That's one of those things like, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Today it was not like it was disclosure day with a big D, but at least maybe a small d or something. Something happened today with the release of these files about what are they even about? What do we say that the release was even about? It was disclosure of something, disclosure of aliens. Well, maybe not. Angels, interdimensional beings. We've got that phrase floating around all of a sudden. I should have began the evening say, "Good evening, fellow interdimensional beings." Except, are we interdimensional beings? Are we among the many things that have floated through my X feed today? One was about saying, "Oh, we're all interdimensional beings because our souls go beyond, into multiple other dimensions," and so always keep that in mind. And I don't know. That sounds like an interesting idea. I have no idea if it's true or not. I have my religious faith about certain things, but I spent the day doing that. I spent the day, maybe like many of you, among other. I tried to not do it all day long, but it was impossible not to just go back to my X feed and see what people were finding in what was being disclosed. And so I was doing that, and at the same time, I didn't spend most of the day doing that. I spent most of the day working on the show, and I felt like 72 hours ago, when the world seemed sort of normal, that I had an idea for what the show was going to be about this week. It was going to be about I was going to do it more about this idea of the war in Iran being the second war of independence against the British Empire, and we're being liberated from the British imperial system that America and the American deep state and establishment has sort of been integrated with, at least since World War II, and that this has been Trump's purpose all along, is to liberate us from that. And we're in the midst of that battle right now, and we're actually allied with the people of Iran in this battle. The people of Iran are not our enemy in this battle. They're on our side. We're trying to we're trying to liberate ourselves and them at the same time. And so, a couple of days ago, I thought, I'll do my show maybe about that this week and how, my thoughts on that. And then all of a sudden, it was maybe 48 hours ago, all of a sudden it's like, oh, May 8th is going to be disclosure day, and we're going to have this huge release of files about what are they about? What can we say that they're about? They're definitely about unidentified phenomena, I think we can say, right? And encounters with unidentified phenomena that have been officially recorded by the United States government, like the astronauts on Apollo 12, and I think there was one from Apollo 17. And I guess these have been things that have never been officially admitted, but now they're officially admitted that there was these encounters that we don't know what they were necessarily. And so we now have official admission that these things have happened, and but we all know it's about more than that, right? If it were just that would be interesting, right? But we know it's that we've been encouraged to believe that this is just the beginning of a series of such revelations in the days, weeks, months ahead, that will perhaps, well, we don't know where they're going to go, do we? And that's sort of weird, right? We don't know what the world is going to feel like a month from now. I think it's legitimate to say at this point. Now, maybe, it's just a big nothing burger. But it certainly hasn't been a complete rug pull. I think we can say that, right? Can we say that it hasn't been a complete rug pull? Because we've had rug pulls in the past. I did a show a couple of years ago about aliens and talked about Chariots of the Gods and how that was really popular in the 70s. And it seems like still sort of a fringe topic to me at the time. I was sort of reminiscing about, the heyday of that in the 1970s when they go in and find paperbacks about it in the little bookstores and pipe stores, and where they sold comic books and tobacco. And in little town in the Midwest, that's what passed for the internet back then, was going into a shop like that and seeing what was for sale. And you'd see the books about aliens then, and that was and so I was sort of part of it was I was part of my constant reminiscing about the past and nostalgia. But it seems like afterwards, like months after I did that show, I felt like what was I doing that show? What a silly thing to do a show about. And now it's like, well, I'm sort of glad I did it to at least prepare my mind a little bit for now. And we don't know what any of it means. Maybe some of you know what it means. I'm sure a lot of you have some very specific ideas about what's going on with all this. I don't have a good take about what's going on, but I'm going to try to talk my way through it. And if you're like me and you don't have a good take and you're just trying to sort of cope with coming to grips with what's going on, then we're together here. We're going to sort of do this together tonight, and we're going to just have fun and relax. But the thing is, I did not spend most of the day on this topic. I tried to monitor my X feed for, look, a bunch of plasma orb videos and things like, okay. I was just bookmarking stuff like crazy. I was just bookmarking everything I could bookmark. I got to look at this later. This was the day of bookmarks. And, but at the same time, I'm preparing the show because I felt like as of yesterday, I felt like yesterday was the breakout day of this Hantavirus thing, right? Because that's the other thing going on, right? Is the Plandemic Part 2, the revenge of the dancing nurses. They're coming back. We hope not. But all of a sudden, we've got that. We've got the Hantavirus thing that came out of nowhere. And now I think yesterday was the day it sort of broke out into the news. Tim Pool did a show. Tim Pool's like, when Tim Pool covers it, it's like in the mainstream of the alternative, at least. And so, yeah, and yesterday it became apparent, I think, to many people that, oh my gosh, they're going to try to pull another pandemic on us. They're actually going to try to do this. Now, are they or are they not? I don't know. But it sure looks like it, doesn't it? It's a safe hypothesis to go off that this is what's going on. And it's not surprising, right? It's not surprising at all that they would be doing this right now. If what I said about Trump and the war against that this is really for all the marbles. This is really it. By the way, I did just get a Rumble rant from ZBM. Oh, good evening, ZBM. Fun day so far. Our goslings are slowly hatching in the incubator, and my man just shot his first badger. That's going to make a nice pelt. Looking forward to the show, Matt. Cheers, Spellbreaker fans. Yes. ZBM, that, I like hearing about the goslings and shooting of badgers. That's sort of it's one of those days where that kind of tangible normal thing. Now, not everybody would think shooting of badgers is the normal thing to be doing, but I think we're among friends, right? We think that that's a normal thing to be doing. That it sort of, we need some anchor in the normal, at least a little bit through all this. So I was like, how can I cope with all this? They're trying to scare us, of course. And I think it's pretty safe to say that, if they want us to be afraid, definitely definitely we're being shamed, that we left the World Health Organization, right? And how it's going to endanger the world. You can see the setup is just really to take down Trump again, to disrupt the normal political process again, to and to get us all wearing masks again. I was watching a video, and it was some young person, and they were leftists, obviously, by the way they were looked, and they were wearing a mask in their car, and they were talking about everybody should be wearing their mask now, N95 mask, everybody should be wearing it, like, right as of now everybody should be wearing masks, and we can head this off and it's like, hell no, hell no, that's not going to happen. But they're going to try, but it, and we all know this, but it made me sort of sad and wonder. It's like, why is this obsession with all trying to get us to wear masks? Because we know it's not really about health. We know it didn't really do anything. Even if COVID was as real as they say, if it was what they said, it wasn't going to do anything. And so we know that it's not that. It's what is it? It's because we might be facing this again. Don't you feel like we need to get ahead of all this stuff now? We need to get ahead of the emotion and stay ahead of the emotion. Whether this Hantavirus thing has legs or not, we don't know. There's a lot of Hantavirus outbreaks, actually. And they don't really last long. They go away. And but this one, it's different because this one goes human to human. This one, and that's different. That could change and people got it and they died on this cruise ship, and now they're out in the wild, and they lost track of them, and they're scattered all around the world, and oh my gosh, it's too late to contain it now, and it's just inevitable. We're going to have the first, if not cases, the first deaths in the U.S. here pretty soon. We all remember how it played out with COVID. And we can expect that maybe they want the same kind of thing to play out. Meanwhile, the WHO, for its part, is saying, "Oh well, it's nothing. It's gonna be okay." The WHO is actually Tedros, whatever his name is. I don't, his last name is sort of unpronounceable. Should learn how to pronounce his last name, Tedros. And he's the director general of the WHO, and he's like. This will probably be okay, but is that really what their message is, or is that he just saying that so that they don't come off looking like the boogeyman scaremongers, right? Sort of keep their hands clean a little bit and all this. So we don't trust them, obviously. We don't trust them one whit, any of those people. And we know they want to take out Trump. We know they want to take out the United States. We know they want to reduce the United States to a vassal of world government. We can be pretty sure of that. We that's almost 100% certain. We can say that that's true about him. And if they can use this as a pretext for that, then they will. And we know we've got people like Bill Gates and all the whole cast of characters. I don't need to tell you about these people's names. We all know who they are. We all know what they want for us. And so I think we're all on our guard. We're all sort of assuming, well, it's interesting. I haven't been watching other people's shows very much this week. I've been in retreat. And so, and only over the last 48 hours has the Hantavirus thing really gone parabolic. So people's takes on this, I know there's going to be people that say, well, of course, it's all fake and gay. There's no Hantavirus. There's no cruise ship. None of that's real. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. I know there's people saying that. Just because I know that that's a thing to say, there's going to, it's sort of like who can come up with the most it's all fake kind of take. But then there's a counter idea, which is like, well, what if COVID was meant to look fake? But then they're going to hit us with a real bioweapon and we'll all be like, there's nothing to it. So it's like, oh my gosh, but that's sort of giving into the fear, isn't it? So it's like, what kind of tack on this? What's the rational thing to do? What's the rational thing to do? I don't know, but it's definitely not to be afraid. So I'm not being afraid. And today I just sunk into research trying to figure things out. So yeah, so I had those two things going on. Like what am I, caught between those two big those pillars, the disclosure and Plandemic happening today, and then the war still going on, and beating back the deep state. We've got things like Susie Wiles now coming out and saying, yeah, Trump actually won more states. It feels like everything's happening at once right now, and I think we thought that was going to happen at some point, but I don't think I don't feel as emotionally prepared as I could be for absorbing this, just because there's so much to absorb. Fauci, D Patriot 1776. Fauci said COVID wouldn't be Trump's only pandemic. Yes. So Fauci, the usual cast of characters all coming back. Let's just say hi to everybody in there. Well, first let's say that we do have sponsors for tonight's episode. Thank God for our sponsors. They give us a sense of normalcy and all this. We're just, we're keeping our wits about us. We're keeping a good sense of humor, but we're being we got to be really sharp and not be pulled into their weirdness that they want it to, which means no fear, right? No fear. So, okay, so we've got sponsors tonight, episode My Pillow.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets, as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, My Pillow mattresses and My Pillow mattress toppers, as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets. Regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, regular $49.98, on sale for $17.98. Wait on it, mega sale, only $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But wait, there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's going to ship absolutely free.
And we're also sponsored tonight by Tamarack Garden.
Your body doesn't need more synthetic fixes. It needs real plant medicine. Wild herbs are packed with minerals, adaptogens, and healing compounds your body actually recognizes and can use, supporting energy, immunity, and balance from the inside out. At Tamarack Garden, our supplements bring these overlooked weeds and wildflowers back into your daily routine. Don't just manage symptoms, support your body and eat your weeds. Head to tamarackgarden.com for $10 off your order of $50 or more when you use code Badlands at checkout.
Eat your weeds. Okay, let's say hello to some people. Una T, good evening. Cloud Topper, Eleanor 2000, Mrs. Rhea Freedom Fighter. Good to see all of you. Raw Shark Lives, GA Nana 17. Hey, you guys. Yes. Sammy the Squirrel. Great to see you. I saw your link about your Iran update. I'll talk about that again here in a minute. Only Patriot. Hello, Daisy. Oli Patriot, excuse me. D Patriot 1776. Lizzie Boston 143. Good evening. Here's the big band music I love. Hello, Matt in Batlandia. Fitty Shrimp says, good evening. Bay Theater Dave, good to see you. Good to see you. Great presence here. In Sammy the Squirrel, squish the thumbs up. Yes, please do. I encourage people to give a thumbs up. Eleanor 2000, Hantavirus, virus lie plus contagion lie equals vaccine lie, alien lie too. Yeah, we'll get into the whole virus thing here in a minute, because it brings back a lot of the deep issues about viruses and contagion, right? And I know there's people with a lot of different ideas about what that all means, because there's a lot of variables in these equations. So, Bay Theater, this is an alien probing free zone. Yes, this is a safe space from that. Unati, I didn't lay eyes on any of the alien stuff. Haven't listened to any podcast today. Totally disconnected from all that today. I envy. If it weren't for doing the show today, I think I would have done that. I would have, because the whole alien stuff, people are going to sift through that, and they're going to sift through it and comb through it and give us their takes on it. And that's going to happen for a while. And then they'll probably dump some more files, and it'll happen more. There's going to be no shortage of takes over time. That's why I wouldn't want to. I'm not going to come up here and give you my take on that. Like, oh, let me tell you what it's all, because I don't know. And one thing I've noticed, in the week leading up to this, or the 2 weeks or so, because I almost was going to do a show on disclosure last week until I realized, oh no, it's the 100th anniversary of Route 66. Got to do, U.S. Highway 66. Got to talk about that. But I was going to do a show on disclosure, not like to say, oh, here's what's going to be disclosed, because as if I know that, but to tell you, just to try to break down in my mind. I'm trying to get a grip on what people think is going to be disclosed. And one thing I've noticed, there's people, all these different takes, and some people think it's aliens, and some people think it's interdimensional beings, and some people think it's angels, and some people think it's entirely fake, and some people, that it's just the U.S. government, and some people think it's whatever, time travelers, right? And all of these things, or it's human beings from the future, right? And everybody's got a take. And one thing I noticed about a lot of them is that they're mutually contradictory. They can't all be true. They can't all be true. They sort of contradict each other, a lot of these things that we're supposed to maybe believe. So that, okay, well, they can't all be true. So are any of them true? But I thought about this whole idea of disclosure. I know Steven Spielberg's got a movie coming out called Disclosure, I guess. Of course. And what would it mean for humanity to actually, well, what would disclosure mean? What would it mean to disclose the existence of something that would be, what? And there's basically two things, right? There's government disclosure, where the government says, hey, we've got these files, like they did today. We've got these files, we've got whatever, and we're going to tell you that we have them and show you some evidence that we have these things, or we've recorded these things. And as far as that goes, not all governments are equal, right? If the French government came out and said that, or the Mexican government, or whoever, British, Russian, that'd be one thing. But really, there's only one government that's important for this, and that's the U.S. government, right? It's not just for us; it's for the world. Which the U.S. government is the one that has to be the one to say we've got stuff. That's why this was so big today. Is we had a little taste of that, and maybe just enough taste to sort of realize how immense this idea is. So that's one idea of disclosure, right? And we can and people could believe that disclosure, or they could reject it. And we individually negotiate how much of it we want to believe and what it means, which is what we're doing right now. I think that's what's happening right now. But, in this fairly limited sense still. But again, we're hinting that there's more to come, that's an immense idea. Or else it's, it's nothing. We say, oh, this is all fake. This is all just government. We got this. What was it? The rumors going around that there'd been a meeting of Protestant pastors, and they were basically, getting forewarned. There's stuff coming out. It's going to really rock religion. It's like, okay, right? What does that mean? It's going to discredit Christianity. Get ready for Christianity to be discredited. It's like, yeah, right. Like you'd trust that, right? I don't think so. So, oh, Jesus was, just a space alien. Religion was invented by aliens to sort of control us. And the aliens told the government that, would you trust that? I would, So there's only so much that can do. And then the other kind of disclosure is the ones like a mass formation event. Like something, if you saw the movie The Day the Earth Stood Still, right? Or Independence Day, or any of these where the aliens just sort of show up. And again, you believe it or not, like, is it a big holographic projection or not? We don't know. There's always different ways of seeing these things. So, but it occurred to me that if we had any of those things, if we had a big disclosures, convincing disclosures by the U.S. government, the kind of thing that supposedly made Jimmy Carter break down and cry when he was told it, because Carter came in office saying, I'm going to release the alien files, and then he didn't. And there's these stories that he was told what's really in them, and he just sort of almost lost his mind. It's like, okay, all right. So it's like, what if something like that happened? It'd be the biggest before and after in human history, other than the resurrection, right? It'd be a big before and after. Life would never be the same for any of us, and it would eclipse in importance everything else that's going on. It's like, do I want to live through that? I don't know. So, Bay Theater Dave, hello. We got good evening. Happy UAP UFO Friday, Badlander, says ClareCat367. Yes. Yeah, Sammy the Squirrel posts his weekly update on the Iran war. Hopefully Matt has more luck sharing his screen this week. Yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna share a screen here. All right, so I've got the GART ad still up. Let's do that. Let's share the screen. Share the screen. Share your screen, Matt. Share it. Chrome tab. Okay, what do we want to start with here? We want to start with what tab? Spellbreakers. Okay. Okay. So I've actually got a monitor this week with my iPad. I can see what's. So I should be able to see. Well, it's not sharing yet. Oh, this because I've got I need to take off the. I need to take off the GART ad. So GART coming up, GART 12 coming up here. We'll talk about that here in a minute, but we need to take that off. There we go. All right, presentation title. I didn't even do a title page for this week. All right, let's just, what I did to cope with today? It's taken me 30 minutes to get around to saying this. This is what I did to cope with today. With all the, I just decided to gather facts, just do basics. It's like doing basic gardening or something, but with stuff online. So I was just like, I'm just going to throw some random things at you just for your consideration. I like to go back to the old newspaper archives and look in the past and Canadian is named, so this is from July 22nd, 1948. Canadian is named head of World Health Group. So this would be the WHO, right? So this is a guy named Dr. Brock Chisholm. He was a Canadian psychologist. He was named, so the World WHO began operating in April 1948, and he was named the first head of a Canadian psychologist. He's really big into the idea of world government. There's a quote from him at the bottom of the screen. To achieve world government, it is necessary to remove from the minds of men their individualism, loyalty to family traditions, national patriotism, and religious dogmas. So that would be G. Brock Chisholm, psychiatrist and co-founder of the World Federation of Mental Health. And like I said, also the first Director General of the WHO in 1948, Canadian. Speaking of the British Empire. All right, so I found that. I thought I'd throw you that way. Brock Chisholm. I'd never heard of him. Here's November 15th, 1951, cover of the New York Times. And this is going to show up, right? Yeah, okay. All right. This is... So on the cover, you have Queen Elizabeth and Prince Charles on the cover, speaking of the British Empire. But that's not why I chose. I just put it up there because this is November 1951. So we're going back to November 1951. So Korean War is in progress. It's been in progress for about a year and a half. Okay. All right. Is this showing up? Sharing this tab to StreamYard. Doesn't seem like it's changed. Why is this? Oh, okay, it is. Good. All right. And it showed up there. Okay, it's just got a little bit of a lag. All right. Here's page 3 of that day in the New York Times. Just, why are you talking about the Korean War, Matt? It'll make sense in a minute. I guarantee you. Again, more random stuff. I'm just trying to put together facts. Put together some facts. So this is a map of the front in Korea. So the line across the middle is the 38th parallel, which was the border between North and South Korea at the start of the war. This is a year and a half later. And the front, if you can see it, it's sort of a dashed line that cuts across the Korean peninsula, very close to today's border. Very close to there. And there's it's very mountainous and all that. So that's what's every day in the newspaper back then. They had a report that was about with the happenings of that day in the war. That was the New York Times had done that during World War II, and now they're doing it during the Korean War. But here's what I wanted to show you is back on page, what is it? Page something, or is it page 5? All right. Here's a little article on page 5. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Korean fever cases. Ridgway's office reveals total stricken since July. So this is Tokyo, release November 17th. General Matthew B. Ridgway. So Ridgway is who replaced Douglas MacArthur, who was fired in April 1951 by Truman. Matthew B. Ridgway's Public Information Office said today that about 300 cases of hemorrhagic fever have been diagnosed among Allied troops in Korea since July. So 300 cases of hemorrhagic fever have been diagnosed among Allied troops in Korea since July. So they've gotten a disease. Hemorrhagic fever is basically internal bleeding. Ebola is a type of hemorrhagic fever. So is yellow fever. And basically you bleed to death on the inside. You bleed out inside your body. Have been diagnosed among Allied troops in Korea since July. The office did not say whether any of the victims had died. The Surgeon General's office in Washington said November 8th that there have been 196 diagnosed cases of the fever, with 25 deaths among United States troops through the first week of November. The office said the disease apparently had been brought to the battlefront by ailing Chinese communist troops. All right. So they fired the first ones in June and July, and then we're almost 6 months later now, and so 25 deaths, they're saying. A couple more articles about it. Oriental illness hits UN troops in Korea from the 7th. Army acting to stem new disease in Korea. So they're saying it's very similar to a disease that seems to have appeared among the Japanese army in 1939 when they were in Manchuria. So, okay, all right. Just some notes, just some little notes in the paper from 1951 during the Korean War. Another one from 1952, a year later, saying there doesn't seem to be any new cases of this hemorrhagic fever that they discovered last year. There don't seem to be any new ones so far this winter, they're saying here in 1952. The war is still going on, about a half year left in the war. All right, okay. So Korean War. Speaking of Korean War, so we have MASH, television series MASH, season 8, episode 9. Mr. and Mrs. Who is the title of the episode. Here's the description of the episode. After a drunken trip to Tokyo, Winchester is visited by his new wife. Meanwhile, the camp is hit with an outbreak of hemorrhagic fever that they don't know how to deal with. Okay, so that's the hemorrhagic fever that was actually happened in Korea. Now they put it into a MASH episode, and they didn't know how to treat it. All right, flash forward. Now we're in 1978. 1978. So this is which is actually 1 year before that episode of MASH aired. And here we have okay, good. Screen is showing what I want it to, and we're not having audio issues. Okay. This is a map of Korea. This is the rivershed of the Han River. The Han River, which is the largest river in South Korea, but it also takes into a watershed that goes up into North Korea. And the area in the box there, if you can see the screen, you can see there's a black box in there, and that's the Hantan River. Hantan River, Hantaan River. It's a tributary in the basin of the Han River, the Hantan River. And so this is supposedly where a Korean doctor isolated the what is it called? It's got a name. There's a fancy medical term for the cause of a disease. Isolated a virus, which he'd said this is the cause of the hemorrhagic fever. So this is right in the area where the front line was in Korea, by the way. It's right there. And then it's born in the feces of the striped field mouse, which is shown on the screen there too. And this is considered, so the Korean Hemorrhagic Fever, KHF, it was called at the time. And now we call it by a different name. We call it hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome, renal being kidney syndrome. And so that's what it's sort of called now, but it was called Korean Hemorrhagic Fever at the time. And it's what struck the troops in Korea and what's in that MASH episode. And they found, we found the cause. It's a virus that's contained in the droppings of this rat. And we've isolated in the Hantan River basin in Korea. Okay. Okay, this is 1995. Okay, we're getting a little ahead. So we'll just leave it there for a minute. So I was taking notes. I actually have something cool to show you. I'm going to show you this. I got to show you this. Share this tab instead. This, you know what this is? This, I'm so proud of this. This is an app that I vibe coded over the last week. This is an app I've been wanting to make for a long time. It's just on my computer. I made it for myself, but I eventually can share it with the world, both in terms of what I've made with it and also the app itself. But for the moment, it just sits on my computer. And it's backed up in the cloud, but it sits on my computer. And it's called Cardo. Yeah, there's a reason I call it Cardo, several reasons, but it's basically, I don't have any cards with me. So for years and years, up until a few years ago, I took massive amounts of handwritten notes about various topics that I was interested in. And I kept them all on 3x5 index cards. And I had a system for how I did it. Whereas I had to be able to organize them. And my idea was, I always was when something happened, when it happened. Because if you don't know when something happened, you really can't talk about things in a coherent sense. Because you need to, without when, you don't have cause and effect. So I had this way of writing the date in the upper left-hand corner of the card in a special format that I developed. And it could be anything from a day to like the century, like 19th century, etc. And on the cards, I would put various things. And then I started building stacks of them in order of the date. And I had stacks of cards about various things. And they got to be very big. And they got to be it filled shoe boxes. And eventually I had a dozen shoe boxes. I had like 20 boxes full of these cards. And they're all, but I realized that I didn't want to keep them in different stacks. I wanted to, I kept them all in one big stack that was all of human history. And it was all organized by time. And it had little dividers that I would handmade, like, you know, the year 1900 or March of 1950, etc. And I put all the cards basically in a specific kind of order. And I did that. And people who know me during this time know that I would go really crazy with it. And I'd spend like an entire day just taking notes out of a book. And I'll talk about it more sometime, but because it was a really good way to learn a lot of stuff and get a lot of stuff in my head. But eventually I just stopped doing it because it just became so overbearing and I couldn't really use it at some point. I just had lots of cards. So I decided, you know, can I make it so that it's, I can do it digitally, you know? So, and I've been thinking about that for a while, but it's such a big project. But over the last week, I dug in and I vibe coded it basically using Claude Code, and I made it and I love it. I love my system. And it's called Cardo because it's a pun on the word card, but also because I own a domain which is decumanus.com. It's a Roman word, and it's a Roman word. It's the Roman word for the main street in a Roman street grid. I learned that back when I was at UT in 1998. I heard it, and I went and registered the domain, and I've owned the domain ever since. And the two streets in a Roman grid plan are the Cardo and the Decumanus. Cardo means hinge in Latin, so it just sort of goes along with my domain that I've owned. Anyway, that's the name. It's just, but that's also cards, you know. But anyway, and they're stacks. But instead of keeping them in one big stack, I wanted to keep them in separate stacks. So I vibe coded that, and I just started put cards in there. So it makes a timeline automatically. And I have a Hantavirus one and I just made this all like it today. And let's see, I've got it goes up to, it paginates. It's great. All you just with the vibe coding, just tell Claude, you know, code, oh, can you make it paginate too? And it does it. So where you can, I can go to next page, etc. So you can see I just started putting stuff in here about pertaining to the Hantavirus, because this is how I was staying sane. This is my way of staying sane, of sort of keeping things real for me, and just sort of not getting carried away with fear, but just look at the facts, Matt. And some of them are things we just talking about here, like I've got 1946 World Health Organization Constitution signed by all 51 member states of the UN. So that's right after the war, the WHO is formed. First celebration of World Health Day, 1948, April 7th. That's when the WHO Constitution comes into effect. July 21st, Brock Chisholm, Canadian, named Director General of the WHO. You know, so, and we know how he feels about world government. 1950, start of the Korean War. In June, UN Security Council adopts Resolution 82, basically authorizing member states to do something about it. President Truman, 2 days later, President Truman orders U.S. Air and Sea Forces to aid South Korea. 1950, June, so later on that month, North Korean troops capture Seoul, the South Korean capital of Seoul. That was in 3 days of the start of the war. They took Seoul. So really quickly. 1951, so the next spring, Truman basically fires MacArthur. 1950, June. So, oh, by the way, here's what a card looks like. You know, I'll show you what they each look like. Korean Hemorrhagic Fever, KHF, also later known as hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome, HFRS, first documented among U.S. troops in Korea. So it led to an outbreak, supposedly eventually among 3,000 UN troops along the 38th parallel. Their special hemorrhagic fever centers were established, evacuation hospitals at some MASH units, usually characterized by 5 phases, namely fever, hypertension, So oh, by the way, I forgot to mention the Korean doctor. Well, we'll get to that. The Korean doctor who found in 1978. So the armistice in 1953. So the troops come home. The Andean plan. Okay, we'll get to it. Let's skip that for a moment. So the Hantan River. So that's where the Hanta comes from in Hantavirus, is the Hantan River in Korea. So it's isolated as the etiologic, that's the word I was looking for, etiologic agent of Korean hemorrhagic fever, also known as hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome. That's usually what you see it now is HFRS. And that's that. So, okay, but let's slow down a minute here. Let's slow down a minute here, because this is something that people in the chat, they were kind enough to point out. I think one of that there's a distinction, and this gets all mixed up. And this is something that they try to bamboozle us with. They tried to bamboozle us with this with COVID, and they might try to bamboozle us with this again. And this is something really important to keep in mind. And if you're one of the skeptics, people who's a skeptic that vaccines actually, not of just vaccines, but that viruses actually exist and cause contagious diseases. Some people don't believe that. Some people believe that's false. My former co-host, Patrick, very much a skeptic of that. And I actually did a show with him about that, where I was open-mindedly said, okay, do viruses exist? It was one of our highest rated shows. And I know Patrick had already made up his mind. I had not made up my mind, and I didn't want to be, let's just say, Patrick would have been comfortable if I tried to be like, no, they do exist, and then we could have this argument about it. But I didn't know the answer, and I don't claim to know the answer, because it's a tough subject. And not only is it a tough subject, it has a bearing on people's health. And the idea for me to give people help, say do this or don't do this, based on my opinion of how I think about disease, to me is a big responsibility to give advice on other people about how to make decisions about their health. Some people are perfectly comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable with that in general, unless I really have a strong opinion. But the point is this. The point is that there's always, even if you totally believe that viruses exist, and they function the way that medicine says they do, establishment medicine, and even if you totally believe that, we always still need to make a distinction between the virus, whatever we've identified as the virus, and the disease. So, and this is important to do if you're going to think logically and clearly without fear, because they get mixed up. And you hear people say, oh, somebody came down with the Hantavirus. It's like, well, so did they have hemorrhagic fever? Are you saying they got hemorrhagic fever? Because maybe you are saying that and maybe you aren't. Hemorrhagic fever is a syndrome. It's a disease that you can diagnose and identify, no matter what. They in Korea, they noticed this. They didn't know what the cause even was. They didn't say this is a virus. They just said it's a disease, and you can identify it by its symptoms. You can diagnose it. And so this sort of happened with COVID, right? This is something we have to be aware of. If people would say, "Oh, I got the, you got the virus," and well, do you have the disease? And it's like, "Oh, I tested positive for the virus." Yes, but did you have the disease? Well, it doesn't matter. I tested positive for the virus with that test, the PCR test. Even if you believe they're linked, they're still two different things. They're still two different things, right? But people mix them together as if they're the same thing. Same with AIDS and HIV. HIV was what was identified as a virus. AIDS was a syndrome. Say, oh, you've got HIV. Oh, you've got AIDS. It's like, well, not necessarily. right? So they're two different things. Always they're two different things. And I think that's something we need to keep in mind, because you're going to hear them thrown together all the time in the days coming forward. Unless this thing dies out. Maybe this all dies out by next week. The whole thing. So, okay, so that's 1978. 1979 is that episode of MASH. So, yeah. So you can click on the cards. They're basically, you get the date and then descriptions here. And I can make new cards really easily and add them to the stack. It's so much fun. So much fun. Okay. I really like this app. I'm really happy for it. I've been wanting to do this. Maybe you've seen in the past, I've tried to make timelines. It's like if I just make it in a sheet. I wish I'd had this when Sammy was starting to do his Iran things, because I could put all these things and keep track of the Iran war that way. And I may go back just all of Sammy's stuff and put things into a timeline like this from his Substacks, because I'd like to keep track of that too. You know, you gotta. It helps me keep track of things so I can think clearly about things. All right, so and then there were other viruses that were identified as being Hantaviruses, but different versions than the one they found in Korea. There was one that was found in Slovenia, in Eastern Europe, and another one in Finland. A second one in Korea. That's the only one that's found around the world, evidently. The Seoul virus, like Seoul's capital of South Korea. It's a different virus, but they all cause hemorrhagic fever to some degree, I guess, if I'm not mistaken. 1986 was the largest outbreak of Korean hemorrhagic fever among U.S. forces. 1986. So among 3,754 Marines participating in a military training exercise in the Republic of Korea, 14 cases occurred, 10 were hospitalized, 2 of these died. So, okay. So that happened in 1980. This is important to keep in mind. That happened in 1986. We had Korean hemorrhagic fever outbreak among U.S. forces in a training exercise. 2 died. And the world went on without there being a big pandemic. So I think this is and this happened. There's cases in Eastern Europe all the time with the Slovenian version, and in Finland, and there's lots of cases in China. Most of the cases of this are in China every year, and it doesn't become a worldwide pandemic. And I think this is important. This is if I'm going to give a hot take for tonight that I want to offer to you about this, it's this. So President Trump today said, we're doing the best. Hopefully this won't be a big deal. And the World Health Organization, to its credit, actually said that too, although we don't know if we believe them. I think it's safe to say, I believe it's safe to say, that if this thing doesn't peter out quickly and just become a limited thing, then absolutely it's a plandemic psyop designed to take down us and the world. Because it could be a natural thing. It could be real and natural so far. So far, it could be, I think. But if it becomes something that becomes a big deal, then that's unprecedented in the history of these hantaviruses and this hemorrhagic fever. That's never happened before. And that would tell us, I think 100% certainly, that this is a psyop, this is a plandemic, and this is designed to do whatever it is, whatever. So that's what I'm looking out for. Either this is going to die out quickly or it's going to become huge. It's going to go one way or the other. And that's going to tell us. And we may know by next week about the hype and all that. So that's my take about that. Now, many of you may remember the biggest outbreak in the U.S. was actually in 1993 at the Four Corners Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, Utah area. So there was an outbreak there. It resulted in a couple, in 33 cases resulted. So this is actually not hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome. It's slightly different. The one in New Mexico, which is a different virus in northern Arizona, it was a whole pulmonary syndrome. So Hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. So the name here basically links up or hemorrhagic okay, do I have the name right? Not sure. 52 case fatality rate. So this is the kind of number that scares people. 52% of the cases that were identified, the people died. Now, that doesn't mean there weren't a lot of other people that might have been cases that didn't die. So we got to keep in mind that the numbers here can be a bit skewed. But these are the things that really scare people. So a young Navajo couple died within days of each other due to sudden respiratory failure. Sounds a lot like what was happening on the cruise ship. A couple people died. Husband and wife died. All right. And then 1995, here we go. The Andean virus, ANDV, was first discovered in Argentina. This is supposedly what's happening right now. So that was discovered in 1995, mainly distributed in Argentina and Chile, caused dozens of hemorrhagic fever cases annually with a CFR, so that's case fatality rate, of about 40%. So that's way higher than other versions of other variants, supposedly. But the numbers are small, just that it has a lot of the people who were identified as having it died, maybe for whatever reason. Okay. So that's 1995, the Andean virus. I've got a couple other things. Then I started to put together some cards here in my stack with what's going on right now. Okay, so in January, we supposedly there's been vaccines developed for this. There was supposedly a vaccine for this developed 20 years ago, and supposedly one's developed right now. So the vaccine is very murky, the vaccine things, but it seems like might have some ready to go already for us. So anyway, April 2nd through 3rd, the good old WHO conducts Operation Polaris. That was last year. So that was a fictional scenario, a fictional virus outbreak last year. They just had another one. They just did Polaris 2. They just did Polaris 2, April 22nd to 23rd. So just a few days ago. Right in the midst of I know the print's probably too small for most of you to read, so I'm just using this for notes. So forgive me if it's too small for you to read. I'm narrating the stuff that's important. So we had the MV Hondius. Okay, that's what we're talking about right now. Set sail from Ushuaia. So Ushuaia. Okay. So this is what's going on right now, right? We've got Ushuaia. So Ushuaia is the capital of Tierra del Fuego. So this is where the cruise ship was. That's how you say it, by the way, Ushuaia. Because the SH isn't a sh sound in Spanish. It's like Ushuaia, like the Huarachi, like Huarachi sandals, or marijuana, the hua there. So it's Ushuaia. That's how you say it. I had to look it up. So the cruise ship, the MV, so MV stands for motorized, basically most motorized vessel, MV. That's where they Hondius was a Dutch map maker, basically. And so they set sail April 1st for Antarctica, and they set sail March 20th. They came back after about a week after going to Antarctica, and then they were going to leave home on the April 1st, and that is when. So it set sail from Ushuaia heading north, and on April 6th is the first passenger feels unwell. April 11th, it's a 70-year-old Dutch man. He dies aboard the Hondius. Death could not be determined at the time. Passengers traveled with his body on board for almost 2 weeks. So that was actually the Saturday of Gart, by the way, that happens, just to frame how recently this was all playing out. Okay. I did not put all the facts in yet. I'm going to keep putting this in until this topic dies out, because this is how I stay sane. This is how I have to stay sane about this. I have to keep my wits about me by collecting facts. So I wish I could can I make this? Probably nobody can see this even because print's too small. Can we make it? Oh, let's see. Come on, we can make it bigger. Can we not? There we go. That's much better. Okay. Oh, you're not. We're not watching that anyway, but that's okay. We're watching the map with the Ushuaia on it. So they're going through the South Atlantic, and then people start, and they evacuate this Dutch guy to Johannesburg, and then now we've had this cascading thing. It's like, oh, other people have gotten sick, other people are symptoms, oh, other people got off the plane, and now, so I don't have my cards for that yet, and so I got to want to keep track of that, because why not? I need to keep track of something to stay sane. I regretted not keeping more track of the facts of COVID as it happened, because I think that would have helped me sort of be more rational in helping others during COVID if I kept on top of the facts more. So that's what I'm trying to do right here, because we cannot fear. We cannot fear. So the British man. A British man was evacuated from Ascension Island to South Africa after falling ill. So he's the one that gets sent to South, because the other guy was already dead, so they didn't have to evacuate him. But the British guy gets evacuated to South Africa. Now, of course, there's all sorts of things going on. 7:08. Keep track of the time. There's all sorts of things going on about how the cruise ship isn't what it is supposedly means. It is about. There's something going on with that. That did the guy even die of hemorrhagic fever who died, or was it natural causes? There's all sorts of things. I don't even know who to trust about these things, but that just makes it worse. And again, I think the key thing we're going to look out for is whether all of a sudden there's cases of people being sick and even dying all around the world in the next week or so. And if it is, then we know that they're out to get us, and then this isn't just something that happened. Because I think we can say, oh, okay, there have been outbreaks of disease; they do happen. So we don't want to get carried away yet. But if this gets huge, then we know. I think we can definitely say. All right, so Duffy's Tavern, $1. Matt, this was my cards. Okay, I'm going to check out your link. I will check out your link. Loading timeline. Oh, okay. Mashup timeline. All right, okay. Swipe to navigate. Oh, this is really cool. Okay. All right, I gotta make sure that this doesn't go away. All right, okay. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to copy your I copy that because people put links and stuff for me in the chat, and then the chat goes away when the show's over, and I can't see it, and I'm like, oh dang. Okay. All right. All right. Where? Oh, I got to go back to the Rumble app. Okay. All right. Okay. Let me get another Rumble. D Patriot for $2. Matt, can you share your screen as to what you were up to? You still have the Deadwood graphic up? Okay, so I did. I think I took care of that. So, the day the Earth stood still. Yeah. Bay Theater Dave says. Yeah, at least I was showing something. Okay, Keith O'Higgins. Let's combine positives from the Hantavirus and alien abductions, since rodent feces is around the homeless. Let's hope the aliens will eat the street people after the dark and end the urban camping narrative. Oh, I don't even want to think. That's so revolting. Yikes. Okay. God bless everybody. Duffy's Tavern, $5. A while ago, we all knew of electricity was lightning and a spark from all we knew was of electricity was lightning and a spark from a wool sweater. Understanding too, and all we have done so far. Imagine what we now know of gravity and Apple Falls. Yeah, there's that whole aspect of disclosure and the whole alien, which is technology. You know, I'm gonna have to sort. I'm really curious if there's anything. I know that there was something about supposedly the German flying saucer reports and all that. There's a whole level of stuff. I'm gonna have to, when this dust settles down, is to get into that. Okay. Yes, thank you. Oh, Sleep State, $2. Tipped via Rumble Wallet. Thank you. Thank you much. All right. Duffy's Tavern, $1. Worth the watching. Carrie Mullis, the full interview. Okay. All right. I know who Carrie Mullis is. I've never watched that interview, I think. But, now I think it's time we're starting to get into this kind of stuff. Okay. Excellent timeline. TimelineNightLab.com has a very good timeline tool. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I know there's great timeline tools. I sort of had to make my own that did exactly what I wanted. And actually, it was really easy vibe coding, but only because I'd spent 6 months learning how to vibe code. Like I think I'm a pretty good vibe coder now, because there's a way to do it and there's a way to drive yourself crazy and to make a pile of junk. And I think I figured out how to do it the right way. And I can build a lot of stuff pretty well. Pretty well. Okay. I hope I got all the Rumble rants there. You guys are so generous. Thank you so much. Okay. So Ushuaia. Now, I wanted to mention, since we've got 714. Should I mention this? Okay. Here's a little bit of a, I don't know. This sort of ties it together. I cannot find this tweet. I was going to show you a tweet that I read, and it was basically some guy saying, it was translated from Spanish, and it was originally in Spanish tweet, and it was translated, been auto-translated. And it was a guy saying, well, yeah, I grew up in Patagonia, he's saying. I grew up around Ushuaia. And I was on a farm. We were out in rural, and my parents always did this thing to us, he said, where they would talk about la luz, the lights. You say, and they would threaten us, the lights will get you. The lights will come and get you if you misbehave, he said. And he said they'll take you away to Antarctica, and they'll make you speak German. I was like, okay, this is interesting. You have my attention. And he said, yeah, this is, we would always talk about. So this sort of ties together the two things, right? This ties together Patagonia and disclosure, which I thought was interesting. I cannot find the tweet in my bookmarks, because I can never find my tweets in my bookmarks, because I bookmark so much stuff and I can never find it. But then he mentioned something else too, which was interesting. He mentioned that Well, there's, yeah, down here in Patagonia, there's lots and lots of Israelis. And they come down here a lot, young ones to backpack, but also they've been buying up land. Israelis have been buying up land. And this rang a bell to me about that I'd read somewhere else, somebody claiming that that Israelis have been buying up land in Argentina, and it's been going on a long time, in order to basically move there at some point. And okay, so this is a thing, at least as a conspiracy theory. It's a thing. So let me just show you this. This is well, first of all, let me just show you. Let's go back to Ushuaia. Now look down here, and if you can see down in the corner, Ushuaia has, according to Wikipedia, it has one sister city. Wikipedia, they're always concerned with these sister city things, like it means anything. But Ushuaia has one sister city, and it's Eilat in Israel. Okay, that's a data point there. And then there is the Andina plan. So this is a anti-Semitic conspiracy theory that alleged plans to establish a Jewish state in parts of Argentina and Chile. It is partly based on historical organized Jewish migration to Argentina. So it's based on truth and proposals for a Jewish state there in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. So there was a plan to actually establish a Jewish state there. The alleged plan has been used in Argentina as a rhetorical device by far-right circles to attack Jews and Jewish institutions. In 1971, a leaflet appeared among officers in the Argentinian army under the name Plan Andean, which accused international Jewry and Zionists of planning to take over southern Argentina. No evidence of a plan's actual existence has ever been brought up, making it, according to the US-based Anti-Defamation League, an example of a conspiracy theory. So there had been a plan to do it earlier, but this new one is fake and anti-Semitic, I think, is the point. All right. So anything, everything's anti-Semitic. So, okay. So now that I was like, is this for real? This thing, is any of this for real? So I don't know about the lights and abducting kids to going to Antarctica and making them speak German, of course. But, given everything else going on today. All right. So I did find this, which was conspiracy theories, or are they seriously occupying Patagonia? I'm from El Bolson, which is also down in Patagonia, near Ushuaia. And there have been tons of Israelis in the area for like 20 years. They leave the army and buy land around here. In Lago Pueblo, they have a big hostel, this kind of commune where they coordinate everything. Years ago, I don't know what was going on or about the genocide thing, but I know it's crazy that they come with all their cash and buy up land in the area's subdivisions. On top of that, the land gets approved for development after wildfires, meaning the land stops being native forest and some guys buy it and resell it. For a few years, they couldn't do it because of the forest law, but with the mega decree, they went out the window and now they can exploit it or sell it. Another user, I'm also from El Bolson. My grandfather was offered a ridiculously low price to buy 7 hectares in the Los Repollos area. He said he wasn't interested, and a few months later, a huge fire happened, and they offered him even less money. Okay, so he talks about the Andean plan. Maybe it's a hoax. Maybe it's a crazy plan that got scrapped ages ago. But there do seem to be a lot of Israelis down in Patagonia around El Ushuaia, this port, and there at one point was definitely a plan to establish a Jewish state in Patagonia. And Ushuaia has a sister city relationship with a city in Israel, and there are flights from Tel Aviv to Ushuaia because there's a lot of Israeli backpackers that go there. There's a lot of backpackers from other places that go there too. But I thought, oh, this is so interesting. This sort of tying together everything about the world right now. We got Israel, we got space aliens in Antarctica, German flying saucers, and we've gotten this place where the cruise ship was. And so it's like, okay, I think that's a good place to arrive to tonight. I don't know what to make of it. You know, I don't know what to make of any of this, but I thought I'll share it with my audience at least. I'll share it with my audience. Okay, what else we got going on here? We can talk about in the rest of our time together right now. Yeah, we're gonna. Well, we do have to. Let's talk about our other sponsors tonight. So we showed you the GART ad. So showed you. So the next GART is June 25th through 28th. Badlands Media is heading back to Deadwood, South Dakota for the 12th stop on the Great American Restoration Tour. Whether you're attending in person or virtually, a GART veteran or a virgin, there ain't no virgins in Deadwood. Okay. Just having fun. There's something for everybody. Early bird prices for virtual tickets are available through May 15th. Merch packages are now also available for both in-person and virtual ticket holders. Get your GART 12 tickets today at badlandsmedia.tv/events. All right, and we do also have Soft Disclosure is our sponsor for tonight as well. All right, where are we? Oh, it's down here with the videos. It's a video. There we go.
Last winter, the world met Madame Margie, the moistureless. But while Badlandia banded together at GART, she evolved. While deep in her layer, she uncovered 4 sacred instruments of hydration. The lip balm, the lotion, the tallow bar, and the new stainless steel gua sha. Together, they wage war. Flaking has fallen, roughness retreats, dryness trembles, and among the rebels, Mother's good boy. But elsewhere in Badlandia, rebellion grows, the beards remain.
Shave them all off.
Visit softdisclosure.com and use promo code Mama's Boy for 20% off your Mother's Day bundle. Can't choose the right sacred instruments for your mother? Offer them all with an e-gift card. For softness, for victory, for moms.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA.
All right, so what do we got on this? So we got this Reddit thread, anti-Semitic Reddit thread. Spetzel has asked me if I ever went out and saw the Marfa lights in Texas. No, I did not go out and see them. I was in Marfa, but we didn't see the lights. That was like 30 years ago. ZBM, so Israel isn't the promised land, it's actually the Americas. Yeah, it sort of does. Well, maybe it's their backup plan. You know, it'd be smart for them to have a backup plan, I guess. I know at one point Israel was offered Uganda before they were offered. I mean, the Jews were offered Uganda as a homeland instead of Palestine. They rejected it and held out for Palestine. But yeah, so I don't know. Maybe it's who knows what's going on, right? All right. All right. Oh, it's good to see everybody here. Thank you. Thank you all for coming tonight. I'm so glad we had this time together. It's really just a few bars of Carol. I should check in on YouTube. YouTube has been... I think I can see the chats in YouTube. Oh, here we go. J-Triad, are you there? Oh, look at all these people on YouTube. I didn't even see any. Folks, thank you all for coming tonight on YouTube. Babbage3, Harry Patriot, MS Mouser, hello. Wendy Russell, already bought my virtual ticket. Good to see you. Stevo 6271. All right, hello. Hi, Steve. Okay, I remembered to actually look at the YouTube chat tonight. So welcome to all of you to YouTube. I am going to play a few bars. This might get us copy. I hope it just doesn't get us copyright strikes. But you know, I got to play my Carol on the way out. We need a few bars of Carol, just audience appreciation, media assets.
I'm so glad we had this time together. Just to have a laugh or sing a song. Seems we just get started before you know it, comes the time we have to say so long.
All right. Yes. Did we play soft? Do we do soft disclosure? I can't even remember. I was talked about doing the soft disclosure. Ed. I'm going to play it again. Did I play it? Soft.
Last winter, the world met Madame Margie, the moistureless. But while Badlandia banded together at Gart, she evolved. While deep in her lair, she uncovered 4 sacred instruments of hydration. The lip balm, the lotion, the tallow bar, and the new stainless steel gua sha. Together, they wage war. Flaking has fallen, roughness retreats, dryness trembles, and among the rebels, Mother's good boy. But elsewhere in Badlandia, rebellion grows, the beards remain.
Shave them all off.
Visit softdisclosure.com and use promo code Mama's Boy for 20% off your Mother's Day bundle. Can't choose the right sacred instruments for your mother? Offer them all with an e-gift card. For softness, for victory, for moms.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA.
All right, so raid. We're going to raid here. Off to Only Lands now. Yeah, I'm going to raid Only Lands here. Can somebody, let's see, somebody, you usually have Spetzel. He's very good at putting that. But if you don't have it there, otherwise I'll have to go look it up. But we're going to raid. Oh, okay, here it is. Thank you, Spetzel. You did it. You were 100% dependable, as always. We're going to raid Only Lands. I'm going to play you out. Thank you all for coming this evening. Stay sane. Hopefully by next week, the whole Hantavirus thing is just going to be gone. Poof, right? And we'll laugh about it. But the disclosure thing, I think that's going to be with us for a while. And so is the war. So let's all we're going to keep it together, aren't we? We're going to keep it together right here on Badlands. This is the place to be, to keep your mind all together. So sweet dreams, yes. No wimps. Thank you. Please do give a like on your way out, and really appreciate that. And we're going to close.
Thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up on this video. And a special thank you to all of our advertising partners. Please remember to shift your dollars to support those businesses that support Badlands Media.